A London council's been forced to U-turn on a decision to fine a woman £150 for pouring the last few drops of her coffee down a drain. She was stopped by 3 enforcement officers over environmental rules, specifically one that makes it an offence to deposit waste in a way likely to pollute land or water. Richmond Council initially defended the fixed penalty notice, saying it had been issued in line with its policies. But the fine has since been cancelled. So the question is, are councils overstepping the mark? Maybe you think they're focusing on the wrong things entirely? Or are we being too harsh on hardworking councillors who just want to make our communities a better place? Why don't we start with you, Joanna?
Well, look, I've done it before 1,000 times with my cup, and I've poured out my chamomile tea before I get out of the car and poured it down a storm drain. It's made of water, so's coffee. And for me, if you think of the pollutants on the road, you've got oil, you've got all sorts of wastes of everything. And that's all going down these storm drains too. I think this is just potty.
And I don't know where you live, but do you feel as if your council is focusing on the things that you really care about, or do you feel as if maybe the attention's being generated somewhere else?
Well, I'm very lucky. I live in Wiltshire, and a very rural place, and I think the councils are focused on what's going on there because they don't have the litter problems that you have in a city, and people have just generally that live in the countryside look after their environment that much better. But even walking here this morning, that every single pavement was covered. Foxes had obviously been out last night, was covered in litter and food waste. That's all going down into the storm drains too. So I think let's just calm down a bit.
And people are very concerned about potholes. We've got an absolute pandemic of potholes. The statistics show, it's got worse and worse. People are very concerned about drug dealers that they can see openly conducting business in the street, that kind of a thing. All sorts going on, litter collection. And you think this woman's pouring a bit of coffee down a drain. Oh, come off it. What do you think, Sam?
It is such ridiculous overreach. And honestly, all of our council tax bills are just flying up as we go. And is this where our council tax money is going? Like you say, potholes. My dad was actually a councillor for the Conservatives when he was alive, bless him, and he did 2 terms, and he left because he was just nothing gets done. Everybody just loves the sound of their own voice. It's mini Mussolinis who think that because they've been voted into local, it means they're like an MP or something, and they aren't. So it's no doubt whoever because it was 3 people, wasn't it? This story chased her down because she was getting on the bus. Do something else, for goodness sakes.
And you might wonder when you last saw a policeman on the beat, but 3 people available to fine this woman 150 quid for pouring a coffee down the drain. What do you think?
I mean, it seems pretty obvious that it's revenue raising, and I get why councils have to do that. But of course, this is the absurd end result of incentivising people who who are employed to do this, because I'm sure they've got quotas, I'm sure they have to reach targets, and so they're like, that'll do, I'll just have to fine you. And of course, they're going to have a go at it until someone pushes back and they have to spend the money on, they're probably going to be spending more on this.
I wonder what would have happened if she was pushing an orange peel down the, through the thing, or an apple core.
Well, it's biodegradable.
A bit of some grapes, that kind of thing. You just think, because people do that sort of thing.
It's not like Thames Water and what they've done, which is we're just going to release 4 billion tonnes of effluent.
Absolutely. Let's discuss this with Councillor Sebastian Salek. Councillor, thank you so much for joining me. Well, you can see we seem to be pretty united, because either we've done it ourselves or we wouldn't think twice about doing it. We don't want to spill coffee all over somebody on a bus. You think, OK, I'll just tip it down that drain. That's fine. We don't even think we've done anything wrong.
Vanessa, I completely get it. And do you know what? I'm really glad that the council in this case, I think it was Richmond Council, then came back and said, do you know what? We got this wrong. We're not going to fine you in the end. And it was probably because of the media pressure, but there are many other things to be focusing on. The reality is that the people who are issuing these fines are often employed by private companies, which isn't a problem in its own sense, but it means that they're having to make those split-second decisions. And they don't always get it right. They're going to make mistakes. So we have to allow for that little bit of flexibility.
And when Adam said just now, incentivise, they need to meet a quota. Is that probably true in this case? We don't know definitely, but is it probably that kind of thing?
To be honest, I don't know, but it's a good point that this money, people always say, God, council's money grabbing, they're just trying to make a quick buck out of us. councils don't have shareholders. It's not going to go off to some rich person's pocket. That money is going to get reinvested into keeping our parks open, our libraries nice and clean, and all of the things that we really value. So, yeah, I know it stings when you get a fine, but it is going to go to a good place.
Do you think councils get a bad rap? Do you think councillors are trying to do a good job?
They are. I think the nature of being a council is that you only really notice them when things go wrong. So a big part of it is emptying the bins. I didn't think how much of my life would be thinking about bins when I became a councillor, but you'd be surprised. But people only get annoyed when the bin man doesn't turn up in the morning. And fair enough, these things should work. So it's a tough job in that sense, but it's also an enormous privilege because you're a core part of keeping your community going.
If I said, what do you think of the top 3 concerns of your constituents? What do people genuinely care about? What would you say?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a lot of it comes down to crime, and that's something we work with the police very closely on. We have a lot of public meetings as well where residents can come along and sit down and speak to us, speak to the police, just because it's so wide ranging. It can be anything from having your phone snatched to, somebody going around trying to open car doors. So we think a lot about that. I think people really care about the environment as well. And it's great that they can see the bigger picture. And that's everything from making sure that drains are working, that we're putting in systems, that we're greening and making sure that when heavy rainfall does happen, like today, that ought to go somewhere and it doesn't end up flooding people's homes.
All right, Sebastian, will you just sit there for me, sit tight and listen to what my caller Susan in Hertfordshire has to say, because I'd love you to respond to it. Susan, hello, thanks for calling. What do you think about councils? What's going on?
Unfortunately, I lost my mum coming up to 3 years ago, or it was 3 years on the 8th of October.
Sorry.
And like everybody else who worked hard, my mum left her home to me in the will. I haven't sold it or rented it or moved on yet because I can't. I'm grieving. I'm still grieving.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So this year, completely out of the blue, I had no paperwork, information or any idea whatsoever. A particular council decided to start charging me, come April, the new financial year, what they call an empty property premium.
Oh.
And I had no idea of this. Subsequently, they've took £4,000 out of my account for a council tax to pay for this empty property premium.
Wow.
When I queried it with a council member, he did try his best, but he said, no, basically, you live in Hertfordshire, your mum's home is in London, and this is the new thing that the government are bringing in and their council has to follow.
Susan, first of all, I'm very, very sorry for your loss. It's quite clear that you really are so very distressed still, and I'm really sorry to hear that. But secondly, let's see what Sebastian has to say. We have a tame councillor on the programme. I mean, I know you're not the expert on this particular house or vicinity or anything else, but do you know about this empty house charge, Sebastian?
Yeah, I do. And Susan, also my condolences. What an awful thing to be going through, and to have to deal with all of this admin as well and not get the easy ride that you would hope for from the council. If you haven't already, what I would say is go and speak to your councillor. They're the face of the council. They're the kind of people who can help you deal with what is essentially a large machine. Councils are sprawling, they have rules to follow, but sometimes in reasonable cases, like it sounds your one is, they may be able to help you through and find a better solution.
Yeah, OK, Sebastian, thank you. And Susan, very good luck with that. Sorry to hear it. Let's talk to Darren in Doncaster. Darren, councils, are they focusing on the right things as far as you're concerned?
Oh.
Hi.
Hello?
Yes, Darren, you're on the television. Talk to me.
Hello, right. No, I don't. I think they're a waste of time and a waste of money, the councils, because they're not doing the jobs.
What
All
do they
want is a wage packet every week, and that's it.
What are they not doing in Doncaster where you are? What do you want them to do that they're not doing?
Potholes for one.
Potholes, I thought so. Yeah.
Parking issues for another, because where I live in a little cul-de-sac, and they park on the opposite side of the road from where I live, and I can't get my car in and out the drive.
Right. So
I've reported it, and the council say it's a police matter, the police say it's a council matter. Absolutely disgusting.
Right, and so
I was in Scunthorpe a couple of weeks ago, which is like half an hour down the road from where I live to do my shopping. I walked through the high street and I smoke. I put my cigarette out in the ashtray and the wind blew the ash and the cigarette back out the ashtray because I hadn't put it in properly. They tried to give me a £30 ticket for it. Really?
Really? And when you say they tried to, how come they didn't just give it to you?
They did. I ripped it up and threw it in the bin.
Yeah, but they're going to come for you, Darren. You can't just rip it up and throw it in the bin because you don't want to pay it. You're going to have to pay it, aren't you?
No, I'm not. Why should I? It wasn't my fault. I've got a witness, which was a police officer, that was doing exactly the same thing that lady did, pouring her coffee down the grid, and he saw what happened. And he told the traffic warden person, no, it was an accident. The wind blew it out of the ashtray. I saw it.
Wow. Let's just get one line on that from Sebastian. Sebastian, all Darren was doing was trying to stub out his cigarette in an ashtray. It's not his fault the wind started blowing, is it?
Yeah, that sounds unfair as well. I'd say, Darren, again, get your counsellor involved. Make sure that somebody's going to represent you and make that case for you. If it doesn't go your way, what I would say is pay it as quickly as you can, because often those fines tend to go up and up and up the longer you leave it. So it often ends up being cheaper just getting it sorted.
Yeah, but then you've got a population who feel that councils are terribly unjust and that it's swinging, and
that is what they rely on. They rely on people going, oh, never mind, it's just £35. Oh, never mind, you've got to do it now. It's without actually fighting for it. With people, where it comes to certain on-the-spot fines or car parking fines, 50% roughly of people who contest them get them cancelled. So I would always suggest, especially with this man who has Darren from Doncaster, who has a
police witness, who happens to be a police officer.
Exactly. Do not. I would say, sorry, Sebastian, I disagree. Do not pay that fine.
Right.
He has every right to contest it, and he should, and he has a police witness.
Wouldn't it be interesting if the police officer used Darren as a witness to the fact that he was just pouring his coffee down the drain to say he didn't mean it, didn't realise if it was chicken soup it would have been okay, or what about Ribena? What are you allowed to pour down a drain these days? I don't know the answer.